What is up? I am Brad and I'm here with another cloud computing news. The theme of this is going to be cost optimization. So what we're looking at today is a blog post. It was written on the 6th of February, so it's a couple days old, but the title is Reinvent 2023 Cost Optimization Highlights That You Are Not Expecting. This post is really interesting because it touches on some of the services that, can generate costs that people don't always think of. And typically they kind of frame this as like a, hey, you've done, some more robust cost optimization, and these are things that you can do next. I would say maybe turn that strategy on its head a little bit and do some of these things first because these are easy things you can do. The first service that they touch on here is AWS Cloudwatch. The reason I say look at this first is there's a 99.999% chance that you are using Cloudwatch. If you're using AWS and you're doing anything, like there are CloudWatch logs in your account somewhere. So I would say take a look at this. And even the way that they kind of talk about doing this, like I don't 100% agree with the methodology here. So what they say is, the first thing is use CloudWatch logs pattern analysis to optimize your log content. How does this relate to cost? We hear customers requesting ways to optimize CloudWatch log costs. And that's true. Like I've seen this in accounts where, places I've worked where is an overall percentage of spend. Like it's not a huge number, but it is a significant number. Like if you just look at it on its own, like I've seen CloudWatch costs go into 5 digits before. Like that's, if you can just knock that off the bill, like that makes a big difference. The cost of this is data ingestion in the CloudWatch. Do you need all this data? So what they give you here is kind of a recipe to look at some very common patterns that may show up in logs that are ingested into CloudWatch. And, the idea here being that you can turn these things off and or delete the logs if you find them. So there are a lot of ways to do this. You can go directly in the CloudWatch console. You can do the logs here. You can write Lambda functions to do this stuff. We'll actually talk about something at the end that they don't even put in this blog post that, is something that I've done before that can save you money here. But, this is the first thing they recommend doing. And this is not, to me, like an trivial exercise. Like there's some work here. Then the second thing, and this was one of the announcements from reInvent, was the infrequent access class for CloudWatch logs. So once you know more about your log patterns, you can take advantage of the second announcement, the new CloudWatch logs infrequent access class. The infrequent access class is 50% lower per gigabyte ingestion price than the standard log class. Kind of like S3, like, they're starting to offer different tiers of storage in CloudWatch logs, and this is a really good thing. What I would say, and where I disagree with this post, is do this first. This is easy. Where this may get a little bit dicey for you, depending on how you've got things laid out, is like, I would not recommend doing this if you have production services logging in CloudWatch. So if you're a serverless shop, if you are doing, cluster logging from EKS clusters into CloudWatch log groups, and, this is for your production account, don't do this. But if you have things kind of segmented and partitioned nicely where, your AWS CloudWatch, or sorry, your AWS accounts, like you have a standalone account for production and, a standalone account for development, a standalone account for staging, or, whatever your other non-production accounts are that are part of your SDLC, turn this on. Do this in all those non-production accounts, but your shared services accounts, your production account, don't turn it off on. Don't enable this infrequent access class on those. So my suggestion would be do this first because this is the easier of the two things. Like this seems like, a decent amount of work here. Thankfully they kind of give you the playbook here, but still, like, nothing's as easy as just going and, like, recreating log groups and setting, a flag to say, like, turn on infrequent access for these logs. So do this first. Do this second. The other thing that you can do with CloudWatch logs that's not even mentioned in this post, and I've seen solutions for it. And I think the last time we did this, we kind of did it ourselves, but I also know I've seen third-party like releases of this solution, which is archive them to S3 and then truncate them. So the other thing that they mentioned in this blog post is AWS Config. So if you're using config, like this is one of those services that can kind of sneak up and like bite you in the what when it comes to billing. So kind of like they did with CloudWatch in terms of the infrequent access, kind of have something analogous to this in config, which is periodic recordings. Turn on the periodic recording in non-production environments. It'll save you some money. That's kind of like the the byline here. So just a couple of things you can do to save you a couple dollars in your AWS account. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Thanks. Take care.